Is InZOI accidentally teaching gamers architectural visualization? One of these is an architectural rendering I made for a real project, and one of these is a house I built in InZOI. Can you tell which is which? Hey, my name's Angorabuilds. I'm an architectural technologist based out of Western Canada, and I model buildings in 3D for a living. I also stream about home design on Twitch and YouTube. So I've been super excited for InZOI's release ever since I saw the early gameplay and the trailers. The graphics are gorgeous, and build mode with all of its customization capabilities is incredibly exciting. And then once I found out it was built on Unreal Engine, I was like, okay. So for those not familiar, InZOI is a single-player life simulation game developed by InZOI Studio and published by Crafton on March 28th, 2025. It's still in early access, but it does position itself as a realistic alternative to The Sims, leveraging Unreal Engine 5 to deliver lifelike graphics and immersive gameplay. Since playing it, I've realized that InZOI isn't just a pretty life sim. It's the first game with the build mode that has genuinely made me go, whoa, this is kind of like my job. But as I mentioned, I'm an architectural technologist, and today I'm breaking down why I'm super excited about InZOI's build mode and how it's kind of getting closer to the real thing. I'm kind of wondering if InZOI is accidentally teaching y'all about architectural visualization. So let's get into it. So for those not familiar with Unreal Engine and what it is an accessible 3D graphics engine or a 3D creation tool developed by Epic Games, who you may recognize from their most popular release, Fortnite. Unreal Engine is super cool, and its intended use extends beyond game development into film, animation, simulations, as well as automotive and architectural visualization. It's helpful for developing realistic renders, fly-throughs, and AR or VR experiences. Now, I haven't used Unreal Engine in my work specifically, but I have used Twinmotion, which is essentially its kid sibling. Twinmotion seems to have been developed more with visualization in mind, and it does seem to cater more to architecture and planning. There's a plugin for real-time rendering from my software Autodesk Revit, and I have used this software on a handful of real-life project work, especially when there's a lot of planting or site work involved, because it truly is incredible at generating realistic foliage, natural lighting, and very realistic looking landscaping. Now, InZOI, which was developed by Crafton, was also built using Unreal Engine. So maybe you can see where I'm going here when I say there's almost a level of familiarity here to me in some ways. The way you place walls, furniture, lights, and customized materials in InZOI seems heavily inspired by architectural modeling workflows, but simplified for easier playability. However, because it's built using Unreal Engine, InZOI can leverage similar lighting, material systems, and rendering tech that Twinmotion and Unreal Engine both use. It gives it this realistic edge, and that's kind of why the graphics look the way that they do. You can think of InZOI as a more gamified, playable version of Twinmotion's model interaction, obviously with more potential for the storytelling and the life sim gaming aspect of it. But there are other aspects beyond just the engine that InZOI was developed off of that feel very reminiscent of my own job doing 3D modeling and rendering work professionally in the architectural design world. So I won't take too long talking about InZOI's build mode itself, because I do want to do a standalone assessment video on that, and that is kind of a thing that I do on my channel. But Twinmotion on its own isn't a builder, but I do want to discuss how the build mode UI of InZOI still isn't too dissimilar to my own architectural 3D modeling software. I use Autodesk Revit, and like InZOI, it has a drag and drop modeling interface where you can click and drag to place walls, doors, and windows. So my software definitely offers a lot more in the realm of customization and information management, but even with things like level toggles, navigating 3D planes with object placement, all of this is very reminiscent to how I work every day in my job, and it's really cool to see a game like this helping average users gain more fluency in architectural modeling in the 3D space. One of the most impressive features of InZOI and its build mode right off the bat is the gorgeous lighting and the realism of the graphics. Look at this light, the way that it casts is so gorgeous. To be honest, it's really reminiscent of Twinmotion, to the point where I've actually posted TikToks showing InZOI and Twinmotion in the same video, and have had comments inquiring how to do things that I have done in my Twinmotion build, just because I didn't clarify that they were different. This is a really cool contrast from the more cartoony graphics that we see in Sims 4 and what we've seen in paralells kind of early teaser videos. Like if you wanted to try and build a real house in InZOI and then renovate it just to see see what you could do. I actually think this is way better than Sims because it's so realistic, and being able to kind of play with things like the time of day and stuff, I think is so awesome to get a feel for like what a real room would be like. These shadows, the cascading light, this is incredible. This is so gorgeous. Twinmotion has dynamic lighting with physically based materials, sky system, and global illumination to achieve better realism in renderings. Enzoy uses Lumen, Unreal 5's real-time global illumination and reflection system, which helps it handle indirect lighting really realistically and dynamically. So both softwares simulate natural lighting really well, illuminating soft shadows, accurate ambient bounce-off light, time of day shifts, etc. The realism of the lighting is further enhanced by how it interacts with materials and textures in-game. Oh my god, the material customization in Enzoy is quite close to what I do in my job, although much more simplified. If we can, and we very well might, be able to take it to the level that I do, y'all, don't sleep on custom textures. So because Enzoy and Twinmotion are built on Unreal Engine, they both leverage PBR, or physically based rendering workflows, for realism. The texture arsenal already available in Enzoy is quite impressive, even though you can't save it to a palette right now, but applying them is not too dissimilar how I'm used to doing in Twinmotion. You can already customize texture parameters like scale and alignment on the X and Y axis, but Twinmotion does take it further, allowing for texture rotation, brightness, transparency, illumination, and so on. And I hope that we will be able to do this eventually in Enzoy. Physically based rendering also utilizes images called maps that apply to a texture in addition to its physical appearance to further communicate how light and shadows interact with it. This creates depth and height variation as well as roughness in game, and your texture won't look like a flat piece of paper like it currently does in Enzoy. That's one of my biggest critiques right now. When I talk about the walls not quite looking as realistic as I'd want them to, this is kind of what I'm talking about. So this has been one of my projects. I've been trying to work on trims. This is kind of a problem with where the build mode's at though. So you can see the material, it not only does it look flat, but it looks kind of like folded paper. And I know it's because one of the map's textures that kind of is a default below just like the appearance of it is off in some ways. It kind of creates almost this like wallpaper effect. So I really hope that this gets patched in the May 1st update. With how advanced 3D asset creation is in Enzoy though, I wouldn't be surprised if the addition of maps to custom textures is coming, which would further blur the line between what I'm doing in the render space professionally and what you'd be doing to play a game. Now let's talk about 3D asset customization for a moment, because this is also crazy. Enzoy will actually allow you to import custom 3D assets into the game, and future roadmaps show that it's only going to get better. If you've ever dreamed of adding real-world furniture, lighting fixtures, or even architectural elements you've designed yourself into a life sim, this game lets you do it. I'm so excited for the future potential of this. Because Enzoy is built on Unreal Engine, it supports a pipeline for importing assets in formats like FBX or OBJ, which are the same formats used in professional modeling softwares like Blender, SketchUp, Rhino, and Revit. This means I can take a custom piece of furniture that I have gotten from a real manufacturer and drop it into my in-game house. This is wild for me for someone who works in architectural visualization, because this is a pretty significant aspect of my job. Imagine testing out layout ideas, interior design schemes, or even outdoor landscaping using your own models, all rendered in real time in an interactive environment that is a game. Now, I can already do all of this using Revit and Twinmotion, but the fact that Enzoy is introducing this to people, and especially non-professionals, to try that concept at home is just so sick. For the average player, this might seem a little bit technical at first, but creators and modders are gonna go crazy with this. They kind of already are. I guarantee it won't be long before we see full ecosystems of community-made real-life content like IKEA knockoffs or even high-end designer furniture lines. And if you're someone who works in 3D design already, Enzoy could be your new sandbox, not just to play, but to prototype. Twinmotion on its own isn't a builder, but Enzoy is. The roadmap also indicates the addition of a AI build mode in the future, which, like, what the heck is that? Now, I want to make a quick disclaimer here that I'm not trying to claim that Enzoy will be able to replace architectural modeling software for actual project work or like real renovations and stuff like that. But I do think from like a schematic design or a design development perspective, where people are just trying to get a feel for for maybe different layouts or finish combinations and stuff like that. It seems like it's going to be a really approachable and very customizable way to do that. Honestly, I love that the clutter and decor and accessories and everything just looks so freaking good, because again, this is another issue that I've had with Twinmotion. Twinmotion is really difficult to clutter with. Unlike other architectural rendering platforms like Enscape or Lumion, Twinmotion does have a giant asset library, but it doesn't really have, I guess, like just realistic, generic, stylish house clutter. It's has been, in my experience, a little bit more catered to game development. Just like it brings a life to this kitchen that just makes it look so good compared to what I was able to do in Twinmotion. It's so fun. It's so fun. I think this looks better than Twinmotion, and for hobby renovating, just to throw something together to see what looks good, this is way easier. Like in Twinmotion, you almost have to know what you want exactly, because it takes so much effort to change materials, to import assets, what have you. Whereas this was amazing. I was able to just throw some Sherwin-Williams paint swatches on these cabinets. I did 2 or 3 streams setting up the Twinmotion, and I set up this kitchen in an hour. I'm kind of baffled, to be honest. All of these incredible customization features in-game, in tandem with the parallels that it has to my job, really makes me hope that Enzoy might spark a passion for design, architecture, and rendering in young players. There's probably a good chance that being able to play with realistic building tools in-game like this could lead people to explore design as a career choice more later on. I know Sims did this for me, and I didn't even have any of the transferable skills or familiarity with professional interfaces like Enzoy has the potential to offer. I'll definitely be deep diving more into Enzoy's build features, especially as they pertain to texture mapping and importing 3D assets, as well as maybe even recreating some real projects or real houses inside the game. If you're as excited about the blend of gaming and design as I am, hit like and subscribe, or drop a comment. I'd love to hear what you plan to build.